Hello everyone, this is actually the first video cooperation between Gentle Gamer and Nintendo TV, and we're doing that because Daniel had the great opportunity to get this appointment with those two legends here, and so he will basically do the interview, I just do the introduction and maybe do a question here and there in between, but we are very honored to be here and I'm very happy to be here, and Daniel, you have a word.
Thank you very much first of all, and thank you very much to let me do all the work so that you can have the free time to look at those two guys. So
where's my beer?
Yeah, here's the beer. So first of all, maybe you two should introduce yourself properly and what you did before you did Yooka Laylee.
So my name's Mark Stevenson. I worked at Rare for about 20 years, starting out on the Donkey Kong Country series, did all the Donkey Kong Country games, did Donkey Kong 64. I did Cameo and a few things after that as well, before we left to be a part of Playtonic.
And this fine gentleman is?
Yes, my name is David Wise. I started at Rare as the gardener. It's a very good job, and after a few years they realised I could actually write music, and I did Donkey Kong Country, I did Star Fox, Diddy Kong Racing, and I've done a few other ones as well. Most recently for Retro Studios I did Tropical Freeze.
Alright, now you know who those fine gentlemen are. My first question is obviously Yooka Laylee. You guys introduced it a few months ago, just a few months ago, as far as I know. You know, it's not that far in development.
Time last year, in fact, I think it was, wasn't it, that we did the Kickstarter?
Yeah, it's been over 12 months since we did the Kickstarter, and we've kind of been trying to show stuff, you know. But at the same time, we don't want to spoil things for everybody. We keep saying no. People say no, don't show us anything. We save it for us. We want to see the whole thing when we play and stuff. So, you know, I mean, we're here at Gamescom as well today, showing some stuff. But you know, again, it's we try and limit what we show.
That's why there is nothing on screen. We can't show anything today besides the guys. So obviously Yooka Laylee takes a lot of inspiration from your earlier works, like or most of all from BanjoKazooie. But without spoiling anything, how do you balance it between producing something new and something familiar that people loved from back in the day, but also you want to introduce new players to your magic?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a really interesting challenge. There's certain elements that we felt we had to keep. So the way the characters talk to you, we've kept a lot of kind of gameplay elements. We've kept there's transformations and stuff like that, and a lot of the moves we've kind of gone for. There's some classic things that you expect in a kind of 3D platformer, but we've also got a load of new moves that are relevant to the characters, being a bat and chameleon, and we picked moves that are like relevant to those actual creatures as well. And we've done stuff like, you know, you'll see this text and the UI, it's all really big and chunky, but it's still really high res, so it kind of captures that feel of a 320 screen, but it's all good and high res and really nice quality art.
It's almost like taking a good story and retelling it for our time, I think. It's taking the essence of what we really enjoyed in the 90s about making the 3D games for the N64 and just doing a superb version of it.
Yeah, it's really, you know, I have a follow-up question because I cannot even name it myself, but there's some kind of magic to the Rare games. Can you give me the formula what this is? What actually means this, you know, this particular element of this particular elements which make your games so special?
So, I mean, I don't really know the magic formula, because if I did, I would bottle it and sell it and I would be retired by now. But, I mean, for me, I think a lot of it is about the people. Like, I work with some amazing people. I think a lot of our personality goes into those games, the kind of humour, the kind of way we design the characters and stuff. So I think it's very much about the people. It's like having a great band, you know. It's a collision of creativity and specific people, which is why it's great at Playtonic, because I'm working with a lot of people that I started out working with like 20 years ago, and it just feels like we have that kind of synergy again.
Yeah, it just feels like the Blues Brothers and putting the band back together.
It's great. A few months ago, you posted a picture of your office and your video game library, where we could see a lot of different games that you use as a reference, or maybe even as an inspiration. Could you, obviously, besides BanjoKazooie and maybe your personal stuff you worked on? Sorry?
It's nothing like Banjo.
It's nothing like Banjo. So that's why Grand Cockhope got kicked off, right?
Let's just talk about the music.
Yeah, let's talk about the music. Of course, we got the Grand Maestro right here.
The majority of the music, in true banjo style, has been done by Grant Kirkhope. I like to think I've helped him out on a few tracks, some of the minecart tracks and a couple of the other tracks. And also we've got Steve Burke as well, who's done some of the arcade and the multiplayer tracks. So the soundtrack should be very good.
Can we expect the soundtrack on CD?
Yes, I mean, it's a backer reward anyway. We are releasing the soundtrack to backers,
yes.
so whether that goes any further than that, I can't really say at this point in time.
You need some money for other projects.
Yeah,
absolutely, you know.
So coming back to my question regarding the games, which games are influential for you guys when it comes to making games?
Man, there's just too many to mention. I mean, I have to say my favourite console of all time is the N64. I thought there was just so many groundbreaking games on that, especially like the stuff Nintendo was doing. I absolutely adored Wave Race and Pilot Wings and Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. So much of that stuff at the time was so inspirational. But I mean, at the same time, working at Rare, we had a few teams and we worked quite separately, as is well publicised. We didn't see what other people were doing. There was a lot of influence from the guys, you know, working on other projects as well. There's so many great games, I can't. It's really hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the N64 and the Nintendo influence, that's been a real big influence on the style of game that this has become.
Okay, awesome.
You know, you just mentioned that you also worked on Tropical Freeze. Is there any difference from working with Nintendo back then in the 90s and today?
Is there any difference? I think it's again, just like Mark said, it's about the people. And I work for the retro team over in Austin, and they're very similar to Rare and how they used to work, and this is how these guys work as well. So they brought a lot of that magic back. In fact, both teams are producing great work. It's good to see, and the benefit for the people who are playing is that we've got some great games coming out on both systems, so it's very good.
And one thing that would really interest me as well is after the Kickstarter finished quite successfully, Grant posted a tweet in his unique way, as usual, where he said, F those people who didn't believe in the project, I told them for years it will be successful. Could you tell us something about the response from the industry?
I honestly don't know. I'm not sure what the response from the industry is, you know.
What I can tell you is the response from the Kickstarter. I think Mark's better to tell you about that than me.
I mean, all I know is, you know, the fans spoke, and Playtonic and Ukulele has been established as a result of that. I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see whether we start a trend with this and whether we see a bit more of a revival of 3D platformers. I honestly don't know.
So there were no amazing or thank you or great gift cards or anything from other developers?
From other developers? I mean, this is for the fans, you know. I mean, we got such amazing response from the fans, and that's what counts, you know. And that's why we're working like crazy to deliver on what we've promised with Kickstarter. We've taken a little bit of extra time, as we announced like a while back, to really kind of polish. I mean, we're all perfectionists, to be honest. So, yeah, I can't really say much more than that.
Indeed, onwards and upwards.
I mean, just in case, I don't think this is really actually the case, but just in case that some people don't know what Yooka-Laylee is really actually about, could you just summarize the game in just 2 sentences?
2 sentences, oh my lord. So Yooka-Laylee is a 3D open world platformer, tons of exploration, lots of freedom to kind of play the game how you want, and I guess some would say a little bit of a collectathon.
Okay, speaking of the music once again, when it comes to inspiration to write music for a particular game, I mean, Grant probably did most of the soundtrack for this game, but you did some of the music for the minecart levels, and we all know that you are very famous for a video game series where minecarts are also a very interesting part of the game, possibly. Did you do a similar approach to DK Country, or did you try to stay as far as possible away from it, not to draw a lot of comparison to DK?
I think at the end of the day, whatever game you're doing, whether it's an adventure game, you need to sound like an adventure game. If it's a minecart level, it has to have certain elements of minecartness about it. So we just try to give it the pace to make it sound like you're on a fun minecart, and hopefully we've achieved that.
I'd just say as well, I think one of the things, like obviously in the Donkey Kong Country games, the minecarts, they were kind of very distinct levels with a very kind of underground mood and stuff. I mean, one of the cool things in Yooka Laylee that kind of the advances in technology allow us is our minecart stuff. It is actually in the level, it weaves around the entire level, so it's like a really cool thing. And so the music's kind of fitting of that as well, because they sit within the level rather than being in these dark mines and stuff like that.
Okay, Gavin Price, who also works on Yooka Laylee, is probably the world record holder of playing DK64 as much as anyone on the planet, and even more. Do you force him to play Yooka Laylee just as much?
Every day.
He has to play it. I mean, he's designing it, so he has to be playing it all the time to make sure.
It's actually part of his job description. It's
to play Yooka Laylee all the time.
Absolutely, and DK64 still.
I mean, to be honest, we all play it all the time because that's how you make a great product. You know, you take responsibility for the quality control of your own work, and you do that by playing all the time. And everybody does it because everybody enjoys playing the game so much as well.
Are you planning to expand Playtonic even more, because your team gradually increased in staff numbers? So is there still a lot to do on Yooka Laylee, and do you plan to introduce new members?
Things are going really well on Yooka Laylee. I think with the team we've got, we're totally on target to hit the launch date, hit the quality we want to achieve, and that is purely our focus at the minute. So beyond that, I really don't know.
Some said that the postponing of the game is also because of maybe a new Nintendo NX version, and is there any relation to that, or is it totally out of the air?
Absolutely no relation. Our focus purely on what we promised with Kickstarter. We like multi-platform, and we hold ourselves very responsible for producing a really good, high-quality game, and we just kind of felt that we needed a little bit of extra time to really get that kind of quality that we're after, and that we think the fans will expect from us, and that's literally all it's about.
But is there a possibility in the future?
Again, all I can say is right now we're just totally focused on everything we've committed to so far.
And also it'd be silly to not keep our options open. So we'll see what the future brings.
So also a very interesting question is, there has been a lot of bad press, not for you guys of course, but different companies, video game companies who used Kickstarter and who used Kickstarter money.
I'd like to answer that one if that's alright. I think obviously these guys, Playtonic, what they've done and what a lot of other companies haven't done is that they've put the level of detail and the level of finish into their product that a lot of Kickstarters haven't done. A lot of Kickstarter projects have taken the money and run, but these guys have delivered. It's going to be a fantastic game. It's coming out in January, it's Q1 next year, but it'll be good. They've really delivered on what they've promised.
I'd just like to add to that as well. I can honestly say that this game is being built on the money that we got from that Kickstarter. We haven't got any other funding from anywhere. We didn't use it as a springboard to test the waters and get other funding. It's purely based on the backer support and the funding they provided us, and that's what we're making this game on.
That's why I wanted to ask the question, because it's very important that also the fans know exactly that the entire money went into that, and those guys are very passionate when it comes to producing a game that is most definitely a fantastic successor to the rare legacy, not just to BanjoKazooie. I mean, a lot of guys like we too grew up with your games, and we're really anticipating your game. So we just wish you the best of luck, and thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you two.
Very welcome. And just to say, I really do think it is a good homage to the N64 and the Nintendo era and the 3D platforming era as well. I think they've done a great job on it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, all I can say is, go Yooka Laylee!
Thanks.